Welcome to the 11 Warriors show for Thursday, February 15th, 2024. I'm Jason Priestis. He's Chris Lauderback. Chris, you're in the Caribbean enjoying yourself. I can tell you're not quite on the beach with the background, but it still looks pretty nice. And how's it feel to be out of town on one of the biggest sports days of the year? I know you're a giant basketball fan, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, but Chris Holtmann getting canned by Ohio State yesterday.
Yeah. I think being out of town for that wasn't a big deal, but I did not realize until the other night that you cannot get Peacock internationally. So I wasn't able to. I mean, that's probably the second game I missed in a decade, maybe. I don't know, but I didn't realize till I got down here you can't get Peacock. But yeah, it was all over the news. The phone was blowing up, pretty constant. That hey, there was some smoke out there, and then next thing you know, it was official, and it was. Again, it could easily stay connected there. It was a little harder to watch the game the other night.
I'm a little jealous. It's been a nice winter up here. February's been pretty warm. It's going to be in the 50s again next week, but it's 30s, low 40s lately. So you're, I presume it's not low 30s and 40s for you during the day.
Yeah, no, mid 80s, and been beautiful down here in Grand Cayman, and in-laws are here too, and just cooking, and man, they're treating us right. It's beautiful down here.
Yeah, to the big news, Chris Holtmann fired by Ohio State yesterday. Bucks were 14-11 overall, 4-10 in the Big Ten, fresh off a road loss to number 20 Wisconsin. I don't think anyone had them winning that game anyway, but lost 9 of the last 11 after starting 12-2 on the season. Over the last 2 seasons, they're 30-30 under Holtmann with a 9-25 record in the Big Ten. The 16 consecutive road games, which is tied for the longest streak in program history. Here's what Gene Smith had to say on the timing of letting Chris Holtmann go.
Young men have played hard. They've given a lot. But the reality is, the body of work over this last year, I felt that they needed something different from a leadership point of view to give them that chance. While they're young, there's a lot of minutes on that floor, a lot. And so they still have 6 home games in the tournament. So I wanted to give them a shot, and that's what they have.
Wanting to give them something better, I absolutely believe that, man. 7 seasons at OSU, 0 conference regular season or tournament titles. You can probably rattle this off as well as I can, but probably a little bit overdue yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely overdue. I think, I still thought he would wait till the end of the season. I was surprised by yesterday's news. I really was. I thought that, maybe you save a couple more dollars on the buyout. You're not really changing anything. Jake Diebler is not a realistic candidate to be the head coach, next year. So I really thought they would wait. That Gene would wait. I'm not sure what really changed. I mean, they look just like they always do in the Wisconsin game. So it's still a bit curious to me. But still totally fine with going the interim route. Said it a few weeks ago that at this point, if you're willing to rip the Band-Aid off, just do it. It's just not saving you any dollars. But, clearly something there with effort or whatever that Gene didn't like, that he just figured, hey, I'm going to do this anyway. I guess I'll do it now, even though it just, makes it just a little bit more expensive probably.
Probably did Ross Bjork a favor too, because Bjork's not starting as AD until July 1st, but he'll be here March 1st, about 2 weeks away. Mm-hmm. Kind of an executive VP type of role in the job. And this kind of, can be all on Gene, and that's fine. Gene's retiring, and the new guy doesn't have a firing that he's already walking in with.
Right.
It's probably a small favor there too, but man, Chris went 25-9 his first season, finished in the top 5 in the Big Ten in 4 of his first 5 seasons. And to me, at least, that's acceptable, man, for an Ohio State coach to be in the top 5 of a conference like the Big Ten.
Yeah, I feel like that should be the bottom of what's acceptable. That can't be kind of as good as it's been kind of thing. Especially in a league with, I know it's bigger now. It's not as, wasn't as big back then, but you're going to be 4th or 5th and tied with a bunch of other teams for 4th or 5th. That can't be your calling card, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is, you mentioned it, 25-9. His first season was his best season, and that was with Thad's holdovers. Ever since then, it's been, double-digit losses, trying to get into the tournament and never making it to the second weekend. And, just average, slightly above average ongoing is not enough. Certainly not enough to help you overcome back-to-back just dumpster fire seasons that we've seen now.
Certainly, in the 16 consecutive road losses, the 2-year stretch he's under right now, really tough. It is a football town, football school, but I mean, this is also a basketball program. They're the second all-time in the Big Ten Conference in championships, in conference championships. So it's not like, it's not Kentucky football to Kentucky basketball. This is a place where you can have a really elite football program and a pretty darn good basketball program too, or you should.
Especially if you expect it, right? Like I just felt like it just became something where, Gene, because he signed that extension, was just kind of almost excusing mediocrity and waiting for it's going to be better. It's going to be better. And then on the other end, Holtmann, young team, like, at some point, I think, there just wasn't enough there in those seasons that were going okay to compensate for what you kind of laid out those last 2 years. I mean, 3-9 versus ranked teams the last couple of years, just not enough in the tank. I mean, at the end of the day, 67-64 in Big Ten play. He can talk about fourth place. He can talk about NCAA tournaments, whatever Holtmann wants to talk about. 67-64 in Big Ten play. You've got to go back 27 seasons to run into Randy Ayers to find a worse coach in the Big Ten at Ohio State.
And 9-25 in the Big Ten the last 2 seasons. That's astoundingly bad. Gene, you can tell, though, Gene had a pretty good personal relationship. And we said it many times. Everyone says it. They talk to Chris Holtmann. He's a good dude. He's really friendly. He's really personable. Here's what Gene had to say on the difficulty of making that decision.
My responsibility is to the program, and it's to these young men that compete every single day. I don't care what sport it is and whatever it is. My responsibility is to those young people and to the program. And so I just felt at this particular time with 6 regular season games left and with Big Ten tournament and whatever the postseason brings, a spark of energy was needed. And so, it's about the program in the end. And I have to set aside my personal feelings and just go with what's best for the program.
I like where he said his responsibility was to the program and he had to put aside personal feelings. Because it can't be easy. You get to know these folks. You know their wives. They know your wives. You're with them at social events. You're with them traveling. It can never be easy.
Oh, definitely not. And Gene's a great guy. Just like, Holtmann is a great guy. In this business, you're talking about high stakes, and sometimes you have to do that. I also think for Gene, and I think he's a good guy. I think it was hard for him, but I think it was made harder by the fact that, he knew he signed he gave him that extension. He was holding on to, hoping for a miracle here, right? Because he took a lot of flack when he gave him that extension, and it just never came to fruition of being a good decision.
Some other reporting out yesterday, Dana O'Neill and Tobias Bass of The Athletic reported that Holtmann had met with Gene Smith last week and was under the impression that, these are sources close to Holtmann that were relaying this information, which, as we know, that could be a source, could also be Chris Holtmann saying, hey, say it's from a source that's close to me. But Holtmann supposedly met with Smith last week, and Smith said, making the NCAA tournament was critical, which is okay, but that's, there's no chance his team makes the NCAA tournament. I guess they could win the Big Ten tournament. That's the only chance they could do it. But Holtmann, thought he was going to stay until the end of the season and described, again, the source described Chris Holtmann as being feeling blindsided and disappointed he didn't have a chance to meet with his team after the firing. I don't know about you. I don't know how he could have felt blindsided. Like, I try to put myself in the shoes. We're older now. We're not the young guys that are saying fire everyone and just, we try to be more empathetic with our age. But like, I don't, can you see any way in which he could have been blindsided by this?
I think the only thing he could potentially have a case to say he was blindsided was maybe the timing, because Gene mentioned in one part of the presser, right, that they needed to make the tournament. So maybe in Holtmann's mind, he's thinking, all right, I can ride this out until the Big Ten tournament. I just got to get hot at the right time, kind of thing. I mean, he's a coach, he's an optimist, whatever. That's the only thing I can think of, is that no matter what was said in that meeting, what he took away from is, I got to figure out how to make the tournament. If I don't, it's over, kind of thing. And he, didn't get to ride it out that far.
Good luck.
To me, it wasn't happening regardless. So blindsided or not, I think Gene, by all accounts, has, been pretty professional with how he's handled his staff, whether they're coaches or anyone else. So yeah, honestly, at this point, I don't even care if he feels blindsided. I mean, who cares?
Yeah. The staff thing, the meet with your team thing is weird too to me, because like Nowhere else on earth you get to meet with your reports after you're fired. Like, they certainly wouldn't do it for a teacher in a school. Imagine like a teacher getting fired. She's like, "Oh, I didn't get to meet with my class." No, of course you're not going to meet with your class. You just got fired.
Right. Well, I've seen in other situations too where it's almost like, I feel like it was one of the college football coaches, and I don't know how real or not it is. Maybe it was Jed Fish, I think, when he went from Arizona to Washington. And they're like, "Oh, he didn't even meet with the team." And he was like, "Hey, these days that could be considered tampering or recruiting or whatever else. And, you've got to watch out for some of that stuff." So, like, dismissively, I'm just, whatever, who cares? You didn't get to meet with the team, whatever. You spent 6.5 years with them, so yeah. It's over now. Just keep it moving, everybody.
OSU will owe Holtmann $12.8 million in buyout money. Buckeyes gave Holtmann a 3-year extension way back in 2022, much derided extension because a lot of people felt he didn't deserve at the time. So instead of owing the guy $3 million right now, they owe him $13 million. That's quite the difference. Gene Smith in his presser last night did admit to regretting the decision to extend the guy with the buyout. So at least he copped to that, but that will haunt him. Maybe not. Maybe he's leaving. It won't haunt him, but it'll haunt fans and maybe administrators over there for a little bit.
Yeah, and bad decision for sure. But I think the logic at the time was he was banking on that class that had Thornton and Gale, and Bryce Sensabaugh was in that class, don't forget. And you were starting to build the class the following year, which ended up with Middleton in it, and ended up being I think both of them were number 8 classes nationally, as it turned out. So I think it was kind of one of those deals where, hey, if we want to keep this recruiting machine going, we've got to make sure folks feel confident that the coach is going to be there, because there are always those already kind of some of those, maybe not whispers in the athletic department, but certainly of the fans not being happy. So I'm not defending it by any stretch, but I understand what his logic was at the time. And the fact is, it was his hire and he believed in Holtmann. It didn't work out, but I think he didn't totally do it defensively, but you're banking a lot on some kids coming in and being the saviors. And it just didn't turn out to be the case.
Yeah, cool /funny moment in the presser with Smith yesterday when the great Steve Hellwagon said that that attendance had died on the vine, quote, died on the vine. And you could tell Gene bristled with it. He didn't like it. But facts are facts. I mean, Steve's right there. Like, the games were like, the women were outdrawing him this season.
Yeah, it was $10,000 in there.
Yeah. So Jake Diebler, brother of Buckeye great John Diebler, will take over as interim head coach for the Buckeyes. And good luck to him, because he gets to welcome number 2 Purdue to the shot on Sunday, and that's a hell of a first game as interim head coach. Good luck, coach.
Yeah, riding a 16 game, or I guess this one's at home, so that won't apply. But it's a tough one to have as your as your first taken over for this situation. But I do think he's obviously the right guy on that staff that they need to to try to keep it together, because the fact is there's still some games left to play.
Right. OSU says the search for a new coach will begin after the end of the season. Something tells me they might get an early jump on that. And will be led by Ross Bjork, the incoming AD, who, again, will be here March 1st, even though he's not fully the athletic director until July 1st. It'll be his first full day. But he'll be working here March 1st to July 1st, and he will be making that hire, and Gene will consult. Gene said that he did give Ross a heads up that he was firing Holtmann, and so there's definitely a lot of chatter back and forth. They've got a great relationship. Here's what Gene had to say on the expectations for the role.
Nothing's changed. All of our programs have the same standard. The blessing that we have at The Ohio State University is to recruit to this platform, to recruit to Columbus, the resources that Buckeye Nation provides us. So the standard for men's basketball is the same. Be in the hunt, periodically win the championship, and go deep into the postseason. And that hasn't changed.
Do you think that's fair? Periodically win Big Ten championships, be in the hunt. Is that a good expectation? Do you want more? Or do you think it should be less? Where are you at with that?
No, I think that's the baseline. Yeah, I don't think he was terribly far off the mark there. Especially right now when you've got to do some rebuilding. It's a little frustrating, quite honestly, that I felt like he held Thad to that standard, and rightfully so. I didn't have a problem with the Thad decision, especially considering Thad's health. It was hard to say at the time that things were going to get better. But he didn't hold Holtmann to that standard when he extended him, in my opinion. And I think that's where I have a little bit of a problem with that. But I think the statement of that's what it should be in the hunt, periodically win the Big Ten makes you don't even necessarily have to win the Big Ten. I think folks want some Sweet 16s. Get a challenge for a conference title, regular or postseason. You got to be in that mix. And like I said, even those years Ohio State was 4th or 5th. I don't know. You could really say they were in the mix a lot of the time. Yeah, they were in the top third of the standings, but it doesn't necessarily mean they were a threat kind of thing. And that's that's what I want to see more of. So yeah, I appreciated that he said it, but it's another to live by it, and it's now it's up to Bjork to make sure he can hire someone that truly can hopefully find a guy that can live up to that.
Yeah, for sure. Candidates. Let's rip through some of these really quickly. The internet was quick, and you can read about 11 potential candidates on 11warriors.com. 2 front runners getting talked about the most. Greg McDermott from Creighton. He's 59. Bucks made a serious run at him when they hired Holtmann. He was maybe the runner-up to that position at the time. Blue Jays are 17th in the AP poll right now. He's had him ranked in the top 10 at one point in 5 of the last 7 seasons. Heck of a coach. He's done really great work there. But just 1 Elite 8 and 1 Sweet 16 in 11 seasons there. And, that's kind of the things, in my eyes at least, I think that's something that folks got on Chris Holtmann about, and I don't know that, he's shown that he can do more than that. I mean, Creighton's Creighton. I guess he can do more with Ohio State's name, but certainly would like to see something more than that. What do you feel about McDermott?
Yeah, I don't think he's, he wouldn't be my first choice, but I don't think he's an awful choice. If you recall, I feel like when Holtmann was hired initially, it seemed like it was going to be McDermott, and folks kind of responded in a way that was not favorable, and, we're kind of glad that it ended up not being him. Now you look back on it, it's like, well, rather have that guy probably.
Yeah, how dumb we were.
I think the thing is, though, like you said, I'm not a McDermott stan, but I think that, doing what he's done at Creighton is more impressive than if he did it at Ohio State, right. Especially in this day and age, right? You start talking about NIL and some things like that. I think this is a top 20 job. I think it could be a better job than Creighton, that's for sure. So with the resources and whatnot, he could probably build a little bit better roster here. So yeah, I don't think he would be. It wouldn't be my first option, but I don't think he'd be a bad option either.
Someone else mentioned as a early front runner, Lamont Paris, the head coach at South Carolina. He's 49. Played high school ball at Findlay, went to the College of Worcester, won a Southern Conference crown with Chattanooga in 2022. He's got, the South Carolina team at 21-3 in his second season right now, 11th in the AP poll. A lot to like there, man. Young guy, Ohio roots. Went to Worcester, which I love because I always get nervous if Ohio State hires a coach that's too good, like his alma mater will come snatch him. And right. Worcester's not snatching from Ohio State. So, I love that. There's some security there. Evidently plays a really slow pace, man. His teams look a little bit more like Wisconsin than maybe some of the fast-paced games we want to see. Thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think, pace of play, obviously wouldn't be something I would necessarily enjoy watching, although I do enjoy winning. It would be a nice change of pace. But for me, I think with him, maybe it's just because of what we just went through. But I don't know. I'm at the point right now where, and maybe it's not the right move, and I'm glad I'm not the athletic director, but an up-and-comer kind of thing right now, I don't know. I'm kind of like, we already touched that stove and it was hot. I would rather go for a more established name for a bunch of different reasons, not just that one. But, Lamont Paris has done some really good things, but you just look at the resume. Hey, he's already won more, conference crown than Holtmann's done in his 13 years as a head coach. But yeah, I think might be a little too soon for me to be super comfortable with Lamont Paris.
Speaking of a guy that's been there and with some experience, man, Sean Miller down the road at Xavier, 55 years old, incredible coach, man. He's got 10 seasons of 25 or more wins already in his career. Left Arizona in a bit of a scandal. The whole Adidas pay-for-play scandal was forced out. And yeah, he's an incredible sweater. Might be North America's best sweater. See him on the court soaked at all times. But man, he wins. And another guy that, kind of like an Al Gold, man, will just soak a shirt. But again, he wins. He's back at Xavier. Dude's a hell of a coach, man. Pittsburgh native. What are your thoughts on Sean Miller?
Yeah, Miller's my leader in the clubhouse right now. I'm bullish on Miller. I think that, a guy that has proven track record, you listed off some of the credentials there, knows how to coach, has, been in Ohio at Xavier right now. So a lot of the kids at Ohio State would be going after the last couple of years. He's already knows who all those guys are. Ohio State high school has elite talent. It's just holding on to it is tough because Ohio State's not a blue blood, right? So I think he gives them a better chance than a lot of guys would of getting some of those guys. I think that he's splashy. I think he's someone that instantly, gives you relevancy as a program. Everybody knows who he is, sometimes for some wrong reasons. But in this day and age and where Ohio State's been, I'm personally willing to say, okay, yeah, let's not have that happen again. And at the same time, I don't know what rules are left in college basketball that he could possibly break. So, I think right now, if I had to pick one guy that would be realistic, I think Sean Miller would probably be my guy.
Top of your list. Some other guys out there. Dusty May, Florida Atlantic 47. Very good coach. Has them buzzing. He's
Love May.
Impressive resume. Coming back to my concern, he's an Indiana grad. So
absolutely,
I would live in mortal fear that Indiana would fall a little bit and he'd get Ohio State cooking and they'd call him home and we'd be stuck.
That could even happen now. That could even happen now, right? I mean, we'll see what happens with Mike Woodson, but Indiana's not tearing it up right now. So in this same cycle, you'd think May would probably wait to see if that opened up. Right. So yeah, love May, but I don't know how realistic he is at this point.
Yeah, good point. Nate Oates, Alabama, 49. That would kill me. I'm not, I think that hire would kill me the most. And you just talked about what rules are left in college, but this is a guy that stretches that even further than anyone should be comfortable going. Obviously had a murder scandal that he kind of said some dumb things about.
Yeah.
Has been busted before. It's just, but he's got some fun teams. They're going to play fun basketball. They're going to be good teams. Could you live with Nate Oates?
Yeah, I don't think we'll even have to worry about it. No, I don't want Nate Oates. I mean, illegally recruit, I don't like any of that. But yeah, being in the center of a, murder investigation and not handling that. Yeah, no, I'm not really here for Nate Oates. I also think, I want to say, his buyouts, it's not happening anyway. His buyout's like 12 or 13 million, I want to say.
Right. Buzz Williams, Texas A&M. He's a Texas guy, just kind of thrown in there because of Ross Bjork heading over.
Yeah.
Couldn't see him leaving, but another good young coach. Thad Matta down the road at Butler. Long shot. I don't know if OSU would reach out, make the call. Certainly don't know. Certainly wouldn't think that he would be eager to come back, given how he left, and probably some salt over that still. But there's a small window because Bjork could come in and play the good cop role, right? Like the new AD, he's the good cop. Come in with that kind of window. So there's a chance something like that could happen. And I don't know, if you're Ohio State, you might want to reach out to him. So Miller's the top of your list. Who's your number 2 choice if you can't have Sean Miller?
Yeah, if I can't have Miller, I admit I haven't spent a ton of time researching names today, but again, I don't think McDermott's a terrible option. You could probably talk me into Thad. I think that'd be a pretty incredible story, honestly. And I heard what you said. Again, though, remember, he left because Ohio State didn't see a path to where he could effectively recruit anymore because of his, back and maybe even coaching. But seems like he's got that under control. Butler's a better program than Ohio State is right now at this very point in time. So I wouldn't close the door on him if he was willing to listen. But yeah, based off of who we know and what could even be considered remotely realistic, thinking of buyouts and that kind of thing, Sean Miller number 1. And yeah, they wanted to talk to Thad or they wanted to talk to McDermott. I think you could do worse than those guys.
Yeah, certainly some good names in that list. We will see what transpires. Other news in the past week, man, Ohio State, as expected, Bill O'Brien leaves the offensive coordinator position at Ohio State to take the head coaching job at Boston College. A lot of reasons for him to go there. He's from that part of the country. His son gets treatment up there. I think that, that move didn't really surprise a lot of people that watch the program closely here in Columbus. Where does O'Brien rank among great Ohio State offensive coordinators? Where do you have him?
Never lost to Michigan. I probably have him ahead of Tim Beck.
Yeah. There's some guys in there you got to pop him ahead of. Nick Siciliano, I think, was a TV guy, but I got him there as well. Ohio State wasted little time following O'Brien's departure to Chestnut Hill, naming Chip Kelly as the new offensive coordinator, quarterback coach last Friday night. Deep history with Ryan Day. Of course, Kelly was the offensive coordinator at New Hampshire when Day was a college quarterback. Day also worked alongside Kelly in the NFL with the Eagles and 49ers. Of course, Chip took Oregon to new heights back in the day, first as the OC in 07-08, and then as the head coach from 2009 to 2012, and kind of got him to the position where they were playing for a national championship following the 2014 season. Parlayed that to the NFL career, where he was in the NFL for a few years, and then has been at UCLA as the head coach there since 2018. Bruins are 35-34 with Kelly at the helm. It's not often you see a head coach, Chris, from a Power 5 school become a coordinator at another Power 5 school. And in terms of fan sentiment, OSU fans really seem to like the rebound from O'Brien to Chip Kelly. They're not the same guys. They have different philosophies, but it seems to be going over really well. What are your initial thoughts on Chip Kelly as OC and QB coach at Ohio State?
Yeah, seems supernatural. Seems that, could even been the guy out of the gate kind of thing. You mentioned, a head coach stepping into an OC role, but it was pretty clear, he was already interviewing for other OC roles in the NFL, et cetera. So, was obviously looking for something different. Feels supernatural with the history that those two have. And, I had no issue with the O'Brien hire. I actually liked it. But I think knowing that you had to figure something else out in pretty short order, I don't know how you could do much better than what they did.
Agree, man. He's innovative, especially with the run stuff. Mixing up runs is something Ohio State could use because Day's more of a passing guy and some diversity in the run looks. Will Howard maybe going to run a little bit more than he thought he was going to run when he first decided to come to Ohio State. Look at a guy like Julian Sand, though, not much of a runner. We'll have to see how that plays out down the road. But, it's still going to be the Ryan Day offense. It's just going to have some Chip Kelly components, particularly the run game. Take some stuff off Ryan's plate, helps him become the CEO of the program and handle the millions of other things he has to do. And more importantly, it's a guy Ryan can trust. Like, you got guys in life. Like, if I'm making a big hire, I know I can trust you. Hopefully you think the same way about me. There's people in your life you think that about, and clearly Chip Kelly and Ryan Day have that kind of relationship.
Oh, no doubt about it. And then that's the number one thing. I mean, what differences they might have, or that Kelly may have versus O'Brien, like we can talk about those, and I'm sure we will. The fact of the matter is the most similar thing between those two is that Day trusted them both. And that ultimately is the most important thing to achieve what Day is hiring an experienced offensive coordinator for. He's not there hiring one because he's necessarily trying to improve the run game as the primary option or trying to develop a quarterback differently. He's trying to hand over the play calling and a chunk of the game planning. And he can't do that unless he's got someone that he trusts that's got a boatload of experience. Both of these guys have that in spades. To me, it's almost icing on the cake that Day and Kelly have been joined at the hip for literally decades. So, the number one factor in all of this that should make fans feel good is that both of those guys, Day absolutely was going to trust them. And you know with Kelly that he will.
Yeah, and great point because, these are two guys that are basically going from two demanding positions at separate places and sharing a lot of that workload at one place. And you can expect both of them to kind of really shine. They're going to have more time to devote to different components of the job. Kyle Jones from 11 Warriors had a really interesting thought. He thinks because of his diversity and and some of his run blocking, Chip's going to make the offensive line better. And I'm all for that.
Yeah, it takes the Jimmies and the Joes, but the X's and the O's matter. And Kelly, I think, I've talked to Kyle about some of that as well. And you feel like Ohio State was 88th in rushing or something like that last year. Kelly at UCLA, they've had top 30 type rushing attacks pretty much every year, and historically he's done well there. So I don't think there's any doubt he'll make the line better. Another thing I think that maybe goes along with that is that he also seems less stubborn than Ryan Day. I've definitely read and heard some things on that front too, where sometimes we've seen it. Day, I think, can be influenced by what people are saying. It's like, we're a tough team. We're gonna run the same play 3 times in a row, even though it's not working. I think Kelly is maybe a little more adaptable, a little less stubborn in that regard. At least I hope so. And from some of the things that, like I said, I've seen and heard, that seems to be the case. So, would love to see, whether it's the offensive line or just the overall run game, it needs to be better. And it seems like Kelly's got a pretty good track record there.
Yep. Fantastic at diversifying sets and, testing the eye judgment of defenders, showing them different things that may still be the same play, but you're lined up differently, and just some of his innovations on that front. We'll miss probably some of Bill O'Brien's quarterback development skills. Yeah. But if we're being honest, I mean, that's still Day anyway. Like, Day's got, we'll talk about it in a minute, but Day's got the best young quarterback in the NFL, just came through the Ryan Day system. So let them go each do what they're really good at, and let's hope for a fantastic result this season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think that's a great point. Bob is definitely more of a quarterback guy, but Day's not giving up everything on offense, right? He may not be calling the plays, it may not be neck deep in the play or in the game planning, but he's still going to be waist deep, guaranteed, right? So, right. And I think it's important. I mean, you're still trying to recruit guys here, and I don't think that's going to be Chip Kelly's forte. So when you think about bringing quarterbacks in, that's what Day does, and those guys want to be coached by them because they've seen what Stroud has done. They've seen it, right? So I think it's, as you think more about it, it's like, well, okay, if you're trading that off with O'Brien, that's probably a good thing because Day's not giving that up. And two, I don't think you want him to give that up because you've got to have an elite quarterback if you want to win a college football playoff title.
Speaking of CJ Stroud, captured the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, follows Garrett Wilson as the second Buckeye in a row to win that particular award. Really cool to see you got there and thanked Ryan Day and others at OSU, including offensive analyst Todd Finch, helping him to get to where he is. And where he was incredible, man. 4,108 yards, led the NFL with 273.5 passing yards a game, 10-7 record for the Texans. AFC South title, set a rookie record for passing yards in the game when he popped 470 on Tampa Bay, and of course led that Texans team to a 45-14 win over the Browns in his playoff debut. He received 48 of 50 first place votes and became the fourth Buckeye to win the NFL's Offensive Rookie of the Year award, following Wilson, who we just mentioned, Eddie George in 1996, and John Brockington all the way back in 1971. I remember, I know you were saying you were hyped when he won that, so it was good to hear.
Yeah, no, truly, though, so awesome for Stroud, right? I mean, it's funny because I think, a lot of people, they won't admit it, but they were kind of hating on him once upon a time when he was here for different reasons, on field and off field.
Never beat Michigan, doesn't want to run. Yeah.
But I feel like we never wavered. I feel like that's one of the ones where we could definitely say, like, I think we were always Team Stroud.
Oh, yeah. You can just see the balls he throws, man. Like, beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, like he's going to grow into this and be ridiculous. And yeah, it turns out he's the best one that Ohio State's ever had. But to see him doing this and doing it in a classy way, but at the same time, you can see the confidence building, right? Like he's coming out of his shell a little bit more, and like he's deferential as a rookie, but he's like, I'm a leader of this team. And just seeing it, even at the Pro Bowl thing where he's competing with Mayfield and those guys, and the throwing drills and all that. Just I don't know, you can just kind of see him just evolving right in front of us, and it's super cool because he's an easy guy to root for.
He is, man, the best pure passer Ohio State's ever had. One of my fears is we'll never see another Buckeye that can throw the ball like him. Yeah. Like, there's a chance that's true. Like, there's a good chance that's true. And that's like we've seen the pinnacle of throwing the ball at Ohio State, and that's C.J. Stroud. One of the guys that hated him as a Buckeye, did not like him at least, is my preteen son. So the whole NFL season when Stroud was carving it up, I'm like, you still hate this guy? He's like, shut up, Dad. So I made sure to let him have it several times. Sixth Buckeye in the last 8 years to win an Offensive Rookie or Defensive Rookie of the Year award, and that's just great for recruiting. But speaking of Stroud coming out of his shell, as you just mentioned, did you catch his interview with Micah Parsons on Parsons' podcast yesterday?
I didn't see it.
It was great. It was great, man. He was pulling up footage of him playing California high school basketball. And you got, Jaime Jaquez, who played for UCLA, plays for the Heat now. And Stroud's like, look at it. That's me putting up 40, the game winner at the buzzer. and he's asking Micah Parsons, giving it back. Mike is telling him it's JV ball. It's a JV video, and it wasn't even a varsity video. And then Stroud's like, you know what? He's, did you ever score this or score that? And Mike is like, yeah, I did. He's like, yeah, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I'd have dropped 50 a night over in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So really cool to see his personality. And he's getting emboldened. And it's so fun to watch him grow as a young NFL player. In other NFL news, Randy Gradishar, named to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, will be enshrined this August. Was a centerpiece at linebacker for that Orange Crush defense with the Denver Broncos from 74 to 83. Two-time All-Pro, made the Pro Bowl 7 out of his 10 seasons, 2,049 tackles, second most in NFL. That's astounding. That's a stat that just blows my mind whenever I see it. 11th member of the Hall of Fame from Ohio State. Congrats to Randy Gradishar, again enshrined in August. What a beast.
Yeah, good for him. Was one of my dad's favorite players all time. Coming up, just to hear Gradishar stories about how good he was. And I read a thing Woody Hayes said he was the best linebacker he ever coached at Ohio State. Great for him to finally get his due. Been a lot of guys stumping for him. Tom Jackson of the Denver Broncos was one of them, and I read that that's who'll be giving Gradishar's induction. Presenting him, or however they do that in Canton. Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, great to see. Buckeyes tied with Michigan now at 11 members in the Hall of Fame, third most, behind USC and Notre Dame with 14 each. Sounds good, but there's Tom Brady lurking, so Michigan's going to take that lead here in a couple of years. But hopefully, we got some more Bucks out there heading for Hall of Fame careers and can match them and surpass them. Cam Heyward, NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year. What an award that is! 6-time nominee for the award. His foundation, Heyward House, fights childhood hunger, supports families of children diagnosed with cancer, encourages childhood literacy, also has an annual toy and coat drive with the Foster Love Project, and does something called Cam's Kindness Week. And I personally think the world's a better place with more kindness weeks. So what a dude, man. What an honor. I mean, there's things you can do on the field, but this is a testament to who he is as a human, and that's a pretty big deal to me.
Yeah, and he's doing both. I mean, he's great on the field as well, obviously, but off the field, it's nice he's doing all this and doing it really in honor of his dad. The video they put together when he was awarded at the honor show or whatever was just great to see. I mean, the guy's just he's leaving a legacy, no doubt about it.
He is. You're right, on and off the field and doing both the right way and very well. Some other quick bits: 8 Buckeyes invited to the NFL Combine. Marvin Harrison Jr., Mayan Williams, Kate Stover, Matt Jones, Mike Hall, Tommy Eichenberg, Steele Chambers, and Josh Proctor. Do you want to make a wager on who goes first out of that group?
I'm hoping at this point, I'm hoping he can hang on to top 4. They keep talking about all these quarterbacks that, once upon a time he thought he'd be number 2 for sure, and we're a long way off, but it feels like there's going to be a run of bad quarterbacks again where everybody's just standing in line to take bad quarterbacks and set their franchises back. But obviously he'll be first off the board for the Buckeyes.
Bad teams take bad players, man. That's why they're bad teams. It happens so often. I mean, we talked last week. I'm not in love with any of these quarterbacks. There's some good ones in there. I don't know that any of them are like C.J. Stroud or Tua type players or even Jalen Hurt type players. There's none of those guys in this class, in my opinion. I'm not a draft expert, just my one man's hot take. Last bit of quick news here: women's hoops up to number 2 in the AP poll, 22-3 right now after beating Nebraska last night, 80-47 on the road. They're 13-1, all alone atop the Big Ten, and play at Penn State next Thursday. So it feels like there's this weird vibe in town where the whole city's kind of transitioned to following the women's basketball team. And when they're number 2 and the men have lost 16 straight road games, something like that's bound to happen.
Yeah, well, it's how you finish a season, not how you start it. That's been one of the problems for Chris, and has not been a problem for McGuff right now. Obviously, they're been coming on strong. I mean, hell, I think 3 or 4 weeks in a row now they've moved up at least 3 spots in the AP poll to get up to number 2 because they just refuse to lose. So, super fun. Hopefully, they can keep it going. Obviously, we know we're big fans of McGuff and his program.
Absolutely, keep an eye on them, and I know we had the 600 rule where we didn't want to talk about OSU basketball and they've been under 600 for a little bit now. But when the head coach gets fired, we do have to talk about it a little bit. Maybe Diebler can get him back above 600. We can talk about him at the end of the season, or maybe we should give him like a one week grace period where we do talk about him because he's like an interim coach. I don't know. We got to sort that out in the week off until you guys catch us next week. But thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as the kids say, and take care of each other. Be good to each other. See ya.